Well, greetings everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Anhedenia Project. I'm SeptumSin, your host, and all things Evan Jacobs. Well, today we are going to be talking about one of his newest films. Matter of fact, he had 2 items released back to back. One fully directed movie and one that has a short that has a return of his that we'll be going over next week. But this time we're going to be talking about the film Incel. This is an SRS film. You can get this DVD on SRS, and I would recommend it. So, let's talk about what this Blu-ray has. We have a behind-the-scenes feature where Evan Jacobs talks about what it means to be an incel, what it means in society. There's also a commentary track, which is very nice, and one of my favorites, which if you see my other reviews, I am a stickler for this, which is a full-on subtitle for English captions. That's so needed. So thank you. Thank you for getting that. So let's talk a little bit about the plot. Eric navigates a life confined to podcasts, screens, and the disappointment of online dating. His routine is monotonous until he discovers the podcast of Cassandra Chavez. As Eric immerses himself in the Cassandra's content, he becomes convinced her messages are directed solely at him. Even believing they are in a relationship, soon Eric decides it's time to take their connection offline and meet Cassandra in person. I swear, I don't think I could listen to the podcast he becomes obsessed with. It is extremely boring, and the woman reads it like she's just reading facts off a sheet of paper. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing on her part. I feel like she is very different in how she acts without doing the podcast routine of just fact dumping. There are far more entertaining left-leaning podcasters out there, trust me. But she does say multiple times, like I say, this might not be an acting thing, which is why I put this in plot and writing quality. This could just be because she's kind of tired of doing this. It hints that she lost her show a while back and she's just kind of doing this stuff as a mainstreamer. Some of the previous films related to SRS, such as Mansplained, have similar pacing problems to this film, which can be very slow and plodding at times. But I think that they do a much better job of developing the intensity in the situation than Mansplained. Because unlike Mansplained, where I felt like there was a little bit of intensity, but it was mostly bored, here I wasn't bored at all, and the intensity worked very well for the end payoff. I felt pretty positive about the film overall, getting its message across to me. The number of paid positions from the crowdfunding doesn't seem to interrupt the flow too bad, and it can. Just watch any of the later Bad Ben films. I think that this paid stuff actually is what ruined that one. You gotta be careful about how many you take. The only thing I felt that was off about this film was kind of the name, Incel. I can say for certainty, as someone who almost fell into the Incel trap, that the main character was more of an isolated stalker than an incel, with maybe a little bit of mental illness thrown in there. There are pieces there, such as listening constantly to conservative podcasting and feeling isolated, even though they're the ones really isolating themselves. But the missing factor really was the rage. Typically with incel population, there is an underlying rage from the bullying they typically endured and the unfairness they feel of their situation. With this rage missing, it really feels like the movie probably could have gone along with the name Stalker instead of Incel. And as a side note, in truth, if your landlord is using cheap locks like this, we don't have to, and we don't have a deadbolt in place. All you really need is a credit card, and that door will open pretty quickly. Don't ask how I know. Alright, let's talk about acting. Evan Jacobs is the main character in this cast, and he seems to be doing pretty well. The podcaster, I've touched on that. When she's doing her fact dumping, she appears bored and listless, and that could be on purpose. But when she's doing everything else, she does a good job of expressing feelings, what might be eye contact or perceived eye contact that he has with the character. And she does pretty well when they finally interact at the end. A lot of the others are pretty much paid on film. To be on film, it looks like, and that acting is going to be uneven. But it's not so bad it takes me out of it. None of the jobs are so bad that they take me out of it. So production design. I like the way they set this stage. The main character is in a largely empty room with just his bed, his TV. He walks in his desk chair and his TV tray, and he has some little snacks while he watches his podcasts. This expresses the character well, showing that he doesn't really have much else in life, that the TV that he watches the podcasts on is really the only thing he has in his life. The number of locations worked out well. You got to see where he worked, you got to see the home, and you got to see her home. And that's pretty cool. And you got to see that shop also. So it does give you a little bit of extra. The music is actually really good here. I enjoyed it all the way through. It's never inappropriate and does stick with the themes on the stream. This is not anything that I would listen to on its own, but I do feel like it's much better than those that just, take you into the film. In summary, this is fairly impressive from Evan Jacobs. I mean, it's not the best of the SRS films, but this is actually one of his best SRS films. So, if you haven't checked it out, and especially if you liked Mansplained, you should check out Incel. Well, that's all I have for this episode. If you like this, hit that like, hit that comment, and subscribe, and share with others. Share the love of Evan Jacobs. This one is not on Anhedenia Films On Demand, though you should check that out. Link is in the description below. If you want to see this film, you'll probably need to go to SRS and find it there. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
SeptumSin versus the world. It's that place for all the boys and girls. You'll feel real safe, you'll feel real warm. It's a cozy place to ride out the storm. SeptumSin. SeptumSin and his best boy Jake see the trends that scare us every day. Physical media is going to the side. Doctor streaming will rule the world in time.